it's time to do a big hunk of beef again. And that's why tomorrow I'm going to be doing a 17-pound, 6-bone ribeye roast out on the pit barrel cooker. Yeah, that's a big hunk of beef we're going to be doing tomorrow on the pit barrel cooker. I had to measure it just to make sure it's going to fit. It's going to be close, but I think we'll be okay. But today I need to get it seasoned up so it can absorb all those flavors overnight. So let's get our rub ready. We're starting with 2 tablespoons of kosher salt, 2 tablespoons of cracked black pepper, 1 tablespoon of granulated garlic, and half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. I'm just going to mix this up. There we go. Let's get our ribeye roast out here. Yeah, so here is our big old hunk of ribeye roast, bone in. Now, the butcher, what they do is they will actually cut the bone away and then tie it back on. That's sort of a traditional way to do this. In the pit barrel, I'm going to be putting this bone side down, so that sort of will absorb that direct heat and give us more of the indirect heat on the top and the sides. Let's go ahead and get this seasoned up here. Make sure we get the ends here. And it does have a good fat cap on top. And even though this is the bone side, you can see there's a lot of this exposed meat here. This gives more access to it if you turn it over. Now, I don't think I mentioned it. This is a USDA choice, which was about half the price of the USDA Prime. So we went with choice for this one today. All right, that's looking good. This bad boy is going to go in the refrigerator overnight now. Let it absorb some of these flavors, a lot of that salt. And tomorrow, I'll see you outside at the pit barrel cooker. All right, we're going to go ahead and cram this big old ribeye roast on the PBC. Oh, she just fits. All right, let's go ahead and get our internal temperature probe in. I want to get dead center there. I've got pecan wood for smoke today. Get our hanging rods in, and boy, they're just skimming the top of that roast. Let's get our lid on and get smoking. As you can probably see, we have some rainy and windy conditions today. That'll affect the temperature just a little bit, but I don't think it's going to have a big impact on the cooking time. As I mentioned, I'm using pecan wood for smoke, and the pit barrel cooker generally runs between 275 and 300 degrees. And we're just going to let it go until we reach an internal temperature of 128 degrees. That's where I'm pulling this one. That should end us up in that sort of medium rare range once it's rested for about half an hour. So I'll bring you back here later when it's time to check on this ribeye roast. All right, we are at about 75 degrees internal, and I want to go ahead and add a top layer rub to this now. Oh, looking good. Go ahead and get our hanging rods out temporarily. So this top layer rub that I'm just going to add to give it a little extra sort of zing is a Santa Fe coffee rub from Stephen Reichlin. Get a nice little coating on the outside here on the top. Still enough moisture for this to hold pretty well. Again, this is just that extra little kind of zing, and coffee rubs go great with beef. Let's get our lid on and keep smoking. All right, we have just hit 128 internal. Let's take a look at our ribeye roast. Get our rods out of here. Just want to do a couple quick confirmation temperature checks here. That's looking good. The ends are going to be a little bit higher, which is normal. That's looking good. 127 right there. That's close enough. All right, I'm going to get this off, get it inside. It's going to rest for probably 25-30 minutes, and then we're going to slice into it. All right, here is our finished 17-pound ribeye roast. It's been resting for about 25 minutes. First thing I want to do is I need to remove the strings, and then we're going to separate the roast portion from the bones. The bones I'm actually going to throw back on the pit barrel, let them go for another hour or two, kind of finish up. I'm going to use that to make some au jus tomorrow. Terrific use for them. And I can pretty much guarantee there is going to be a juice-a-lanch because there's one already starting at the back here. So we're going to go ahead, separate this from the rack of bones under here. I'm just going to take my chef's knife, slice along here. There we go. Nice big rack of beef ribs. And let's just cut straight down the middle here, right here. Let's see how we did. Oh yeah. That's what I'm looking for. Medium rare, you have just that right amount of pink in there. Honestly, with this sort of cut, you can go a little bit beyond that, but I really wouldn't want to go much beyond that sort of center of medium rare. Unless you have people who like well done, the ends are going to be what they can have, but this is the way I like it. Let's cut a slice. Juice-a-lanch. Oh yeah, there we go. Do I really need to say it? It's time to taste. I have been waiting most of the day for this moment to taste this ribeye roast. Total cook time was about 5 hours with then another 25-30 minutes to rest. Here we go. This was not a prime, but in a cut of meat like this, I'm not sure you always need that. Not saying you're not going to know a difference between prime or even Wagyu or something like that, but a USDA choice ribeye roast is perfectly acceptable when you are cooking it like this, giving it smoke, giving it a great rub, giving it that time to get to the right temperature. It turns out fantastic. That base rub that we started with, perfect place to start, and that little secondary rub about halfway through the cook of the Santa Fe coffee rub, perfect, nice little extra flavor on there. And as I mentioned, the portions of the roast nearer the ends are going to be a little bit more done. So if you have people who like that well done ribeye, I don't know who they are, but I prefer it medium rare, you can let them have that. It'll be perfectly fine for them. But the center, for me, that's where it's at. So if you want to cook up a great holiday meal and you have a lot of people to feed, a big old ribeye roast, or prime rib if you want to call it that, is a perfect cut. It's just fantastic all the way around, and no one is going to turn this down.